Nothing beats working on the ocean. You've got the beautiful expanse of deep blue, and then you see that tinge of green that signals the reef is coming. And the waves breaking. Your heart skips a beat and the adrenaline starts to rush, and you're in the right spot.
Australia's commercial fishers care about the health of our oceans and coastlines. Their livelihood and the livelihood of future generations depends on it. So much so, they've pledged to actively care for Australia's oceans and environment and work with others to do the same.
We treat our grounds like farmers treat their paddocks. You got to look after them because you want to be there next year and the year after and the year after and the year after. So you do things in a way that you're not going to be destroying next year's harvest.
Parks Australia is responsible for the Australian Marine Parks Network, a role that requires a balance between protecting the marine environment and providing opportunities for sustainable use and enjoyment of these special places.
Over recent years, Parks Australia has worked collaboratively with stakeholders, including the Australian seafood industry, to develop one of the most extensive marine park networks in the world, covering 2.8 million square kilometres, or around a third of our oceans. Parks Australia supports the long-term sustainability of commercial fishing and encourages the research and development of new technologies to improve industry practices through the Our Marine Parks Grant Program. Seafood Industry Australia received $313,800 under this program to deliver a national report card, which will help producers promote their role in supporting the management of Australia's oceans and help consumers make informed, sustainable seafood choices.
They are sentinels of the environments they work in. They want to work there today, tomorrow, next year, next decade.
Through consultation with fisheries management, conservation groups and Parks Australia, Australia's commercial fishers continually evolve their practices and take proactive action to secure the future of our oceans for generations to come.
We all have a part to play in making sure that Australian fisheries are managed sustainably, including through our well-managed marine parks.
I knew a little bit about the Reef Guardian program through some other commercial fishermen, but I didn't know a lot about it. And the more I looked at the Reef Guardian program, the more I wanted to become involved. When Evie was born, that sort of made me think even more about the future. I want to be known for being sustainable, helping the environment rather than just out there catching fish.
When it's managed well, the fishing industry isn't a threat to the marine environment, and that can be and is the case with world-leading fisheries management, like we have in Australia and through Australian marine parks. The main threats that are facing our marine environment and Australian marine parks include habitat degradation, sedimentation of some of our river systems, invasive species, climate change impacts and marine pollution.
Southwest coast of Tassie is wild and untouched. Apart from the world's rubbish which comes to us on our west coast, just through the oceans.
Every year, Tasmanian commercial fishers assist in the clean-up of this pollution and offer their vessels to take volunteers to some of the most remote regions.
Every year we pull around about anywhere between 1.8 and 2.2 tonne for 1 week. That's only 1 week. In one area. It gets me down sometimes, but I guess if you stop caring and doing something, then, nothing's going to be done. Or, people will just brush it off and think, well, who cares? But someone has to care.
Commercial fishers in Australia are out on the water for a significant part of the year, so they're out there every day and they see what's happening in our marine environment. They see changes and where things are going wrong as well as where things are going right. And they care more than just about anyone about protecting our marine environments.
The Gulf of Carpentaria has been identified as a global hotspot for marine debris. Each year, tons of waste drift into Australian waters, primarily from Southeast Asia. Of particular concern are ghost nets, which are fishing nets that have been left or lost at sea in storms or strong currents. Australia's commercial fishers take an active role in reporting and salvaging these nets and regularly remove them from our oceans.
And we're fishing about 100 miles north of Croker Island near a shoal called Money Shoal, and we're doing very well when one of the crew noticed this massive big foreign fishing vessel ghost net. The net had obviously been there a really long time.
What you're seeing here is only probably 5% of what's all wrapped around the reef. A bunch twisted up underneath those bubbles, so we're going to wait for slack tide, come back, we're going to have to tow it in.
We've got about 60 miles to tow this big ball of net in, and we're only doing 2 knots. So it's going to take us well over 30 hours, probably a day and a half, to tow this 60 miles into Croker Island.
Commercial fishermen are often the only people out there. Commercial fishermen observe a lot of things. If you remove those fishermen from those environments and there's other threats to those environments, you've got nothing.
It's so important for us to work collaboratively with Australian fishers. They are some of the key stakeholders and most affected people by what's happening in the marine environment. So they have a real stake in looking after and sustainably managing our oceans.
We always want to touch the earth lighter today than we did yesterday. Less boats, more targeted fishing. Obviously got all the bycatch reduction devices, turtle exclusion devices, all those sorts of things.
A big part of my fishery is lobsters. I was attracted to that fishery because it was becoming managed and it was going to become, basically sustainable. It sort of encouraged me to invest in that industry. Or we get quotas, we can only catch a certain amount of quota, and then once we've caught that, we've got to stop fishing.
We don't just sell fish to anyone, we try and sell our fish to customers that are going to use every part of the fish, which means you need to take less fish from the reef.
The Australian seafood industry is continually improving their practices to reduce their impact on the environment.
I use steel sinkers. That's all made out of scrap steel that would otherwise end up in landfill. We've got solar power on the house, cold rooms, all that runs off solar power. Most of our fishing's done with an electric anchor, so there's no anchoring at all on the reef. We try to avoid spawning aggregations of fish, so if you go out and take all those fish while they're spawning, you might make a lot of money today, but it's probably going to cost you a lot of money in the long run.
In 2014, the northern prawn fishery set an ambitious goal of reducing incidental catch. The only problem was the technology didn't exist.
We had half a dozen devices developed.
Cons Fish Eye, version 3, version 3.1. Then we jumped to a version 4, and we were always moving forward.
Anything that looked like it had potential would go under scientific trial.
We decided to go back to the version 3 but make a couple of mods, and the result was more than we expected.
What we've got now is an amazing device, and it was all born from industry wanting to change.
By 2019, the fishery had successfully reduced bycatch by close to 50% using their special purpose device, known as Tom's Fish Eye.
We all know that fishers are incredibly innovative, and so when you set the challenge to catch more fish and catch less of the species you don't want to be catching, they have to come up with some fantastic solutions, and they've done so in the context of Australian marine parks.
The relationship of a commercial fisher with the ocean is something built over the course of years at sea.
As a fisherman today, we take very seriously our custodial role out on the ocean as the eyes and the ears for the environment.
If you look after the environment, it'll look after you, and Because we look after the environment as best we can, yeah, the reef looks after us very well, I think.
If a fisherman is making a living off the ocean, why would you destroy the ocean that, you know, gives to you?
The reef is my life, really. It's been my life forever. It's my whole family's life, and that's why I care. The reef means everything to me.